With a long history as one of Marvel Comics' most iconic team leaders, Cyclops of the X-Men is well known as one of the superhero community's greatest strategists. Trained from childhood to lead the next generation of mutants in a world that hates and fears them, it's rare for Marvel's merry mutants to come up against a foe that Cyclops can't confront. And while he may not necessarily be the X-Men's best leader, he's clearly their best tactician. Since he was first brought to Xavier's school, Scott has faced no shortage of devastating threats. From villains like Magneto or the Sentinels to fellow heroes like Wolverine and even the Avengers, Cyclops has gone up against the biggest and baddest that Marvel Universe has to offer. And when the X-Men were face to face with an Asgardian-powered Juggernaut, it was Cyclops' sense of strategy that stopped the unstoppable. Uncanny X-Men #540-543 by Kieran Gillen and Greg Land truly highlights the genius behind Cyclops' tactical mind. After Cain Marko is empowered by the evil Asgardian entity known as the Serpent as a part of the Avengers event Fear Itself by Matt Fraction and Stuart Immonen, the unstoppable Juggernaut and an army of entranced followers makes their way to the city of San Francisco. Juggernaut gives the city a choice of whether to forsake the X-Men, who live on the nearby island of Utopia, or have their city razed. Marvel's mutants rise to confront their old foe with an opening volley featuring heroes like Magneto, Colossus, and Iceman himself. When San Francisco's mayor asks Scott if they've moved on to Plan B after this first strike fails, Cyclops replies, "No. Not Plan B, Plan 2. Plan B implies we only have 26. Cyclops always has a plan." Cyclops and the X-Men implement dozens of plans against their ultra-powerful foe with attacks ranging from a combined assault launched by Boom Boom and Psylocke to Magneto hitting Cain with an aircraft carrier. In the end, it's a Juggernaut-empowered Colossus who finally manages to put the nail in Marko's coffin thanks to a strategy devised by Cyclops and Magic. And while Illyana calls an audible and has her brother Peter infused with the power of Sidorak instead of taking the power for herself as per her and Scott's original plan, Scott's strategy still ultimately works. At the time, Scott was the de facto leader of the entire mutant species, so it's no wonder that he was prepared for any threat. While he may now be an ally of Krakoa, Cain Marko was once one of the X-Men's most powerful foes, and with an alias like the unstoppable Juggernaut, it's not at all surprising for Marko's very real threat to be taken so seriously by a tactician like Cyclops. Even so, the Marvel Universe has no shortage of great leaders like Captain America or Mr. Fantastic, but it's Cyclops' strategic mind that sets him apart. It's true that a leader like Steve Rogers is incredibly inspiring and an amazing figurehead in the heat of battle, but his natural aptitudes for leadership are slightly less compulsive than those of Cyclops. Scott has spent most of his life with the fate of an entire species on his shoulders, and as such his need to plan ahead and devise strategies is almost pathological. And it's this overdeveloped tactical nature that has allowed Cyclops to routinely take on the X-Men's deadliest enemies. There are plenty of strong leaders in the Marvel Universe, but very few can compare to Cyclops. Having spent his entire life fighting for mutant rights, Scott has the experience and more importantly the talent necessary for outthinking any threats that he and his fellow mutants face. And while the X-Men have been led competently time and again by heroes like Storm or Professor X, it's Marvel Comics Cyclops who is truly their greatest tactician.